Enterprise?
Let's go.
Good evening and welcome to Enterprise at 8. This is Live Long and Podcast Star Trek Enterprise Rewatch series. It's been about 20 years. See, Dave? 20? Yeah. Since tonight's episode, Shockwave Part 2 first aired, which is actually the first of the season 2. But we're just getting started here at Enterprise at 8. I'm Jody Simpson, and joining me is our awesome producer and the man who is also not in the habit of kidnapping Vulcans, Dave Mater.
No, I don't kidnap them. I don't undress them either, weirdly, or put them into weird. And I don't. I'm more of a guy to come into the quarters and be a talking head and float and go to Paul. I'm coming to you from the future.
The Vulcans do all those things willingly with you, Dave.
Yes,
For sure.
Mm-hmm.
And of
No
course,
Vulcan love slave.
And of course, who could forget the guy who cheered when Archer was stuck in the 31st century? Kevin Millard.
Hello. Yes, I did. I would have enjoyed him staying there.
Sorry about your luck, Kevin. Anyway, tonight's episode is Shockwave Part 2, as we mentioned. This is the 26th episode of the series. As the Suliban take the crew hostage, Archer disappears off the ship. And Kevin was happy. Well, stuck in the 31st century, Archer and Daniels work to find a way to get back to Enterprise and repair the timeline. They have to go back to the future, or the past, I guess, in this scenario.
Back to the future?
No DeLoreans. No
Or
DeLoreans. Well, it's our future.
could be a little bit of like.
And so Dr. Beckett finds himself leaping from life to life, striving to put right what once went wrong, and hoping each time that his next leap will be the leap home.
Something like that?
Precisely.
Yes,
Sure.
I thought so.
Sure. Let's do it. Now, Kevin, I
Yeah.
think we're going to start with you this time because you were the one who really, really liked the last episode
I did, and this one.
and this one. Well, you were kind of rating them both anyway, let's be honest, because you
Yes.
watched them both. Yeah. Oh, there's Sam. Sam,
Hey,
hey,
Sam.
from the East Coast.
Hey, from the East Coast.
Adam's around there. See if you can find him.
Well, they're in different provinces. Like there's often this.
Can't be that hard to find 'em.
misconception. Nova Scotia and Newfoundland are not like
They're
bordering.
not
each other.
close.
They're not
I
close to
know.
one another. They both are on the ocean.
I
but-
took geography.
Yeah,
It's fine.
it's like Florida and New York City. Like they're.
I'm just saying, if you want a bit of a challenge, Sam,
Yeah.
go find Adam. He's somewhere.
Sam wants us to do an episode ranking for each series, starting with TOS, then the animated series, and then Next Gen, and so forth. Well, we're kind of doing that, Sam, already, but not in order.
Not in order. Yeah.
We already
but
did the original series.
We did all the original series already.
We did it. And we never did the animated series yet, maybe one day. And then we Next Gen and Voyager we've never done, but we've been working on D Space Nine, of course, Enterprise here on Mondays.
I'm just gonna put it out there. I'm not doing Voyager.
Voyager. I think we'll do Next Gen before we ever do
the first
Voyager,
three
but-
seasons of Voyager are just brutal for me.
Well,
I don't like them.
There's good and the bad in all of Star Trek, but in a way, Sam, we are
Kess.
rating.
Kess is the problem. But anyway,
We she leaves after 3, but
that's what makes it better.
all of the series. We are rating all the series actually in some ways. In the movies, we did all the movies.
Yeah, we already did the movies. Yeah.
And as of right now, the top rated Star Trek series is Star Trek Strange New World, but it only has like 4 episodes, so we'll see.
And
But
we're
it's
just
our-
also excited that it's not everything else. Like
Yes.
that it's
We're-
new stuff. That's
I'm really
it's cla-
excited
it's
that it
classic.
isn't Discovery and Picard.
yeah.
Yeah.
And Sam loves the Paradise Syndrome. Underrated. Well, he doesn't say he loves it. He just says it's underrated.
I
Oh,
guess
good,
we-
Sam.
I guess we all have our opinions. Anyway,
Back to the
So-
Shockwave.
so we basically start with Archer in the 31st century, essentially, and T'Pol talking. Well, they get boarded, right? So the boarding happens
Yep.
in series 1, or the first part. And then at this point, they're looking for Archer on the ship, and T'Pol's giving him a hard time, right?
Yeah. Well, what I
I
really
probably
wanted-
should have rewatched this again.
What
I
really
watched it
wanted
last
to
week.
know tonight when I was watching this was, did they film these episodes back to back, or did they actually like come back in the next season and film part 2? It's probably something that will come up in the fun facts. But
I get the impression that they probably shot it at the same time.
I would think so. It seems pretty coherent. Like
it seems it does feel coherent. And then I'm like, well, was that?
And then the next episode is way different. So
like the Canyon, or what's it? Carbon Creek's next.
Carbon Creek is next. Yeah.
But like when I was looking at T'Pol, I was like, is that the same neckline? Is that a different uniform she's got on there? Or is her hair different? I kept like analyzing things like that. But I think you're probably right that they probably did shoot these back to back. And then like what episode 2 is actually the first episode they would have shot the next year or the next season.
Yeah, that would be what I would guess.
And Deep Space Nine did this too, like when they did like Apocalypse Rising and the one before that, like the Broken Link one. So like it's not unheard of for them to do this in Star Trek. I think it was just like we need a cliffhanger to, where people are going to be around for 5 or 6 months wondering what happened. But I feel like
you're doing a 2-part episode, I imagine you want to do it at the same time in case, I don't know, somebody dies,
set gets broken or something
happens, right?
I guess so. Yeah. Well, just because like the way this whole episode wraps up, I know I'm skipping to the end, but where like Ambassador Soval or Ambassador Pointy Ears, as a young Jonathan Archer would have called him, he was just like, your first year in space has been this and this and this, and and then like and I was like, it really feel like this was meant to be the end of a first season, even though not the beginning of a second season. As much.
I think this would have fit better as a 2-parter at the end of a season.
Right.
I know they're trying to get people to come back for the second season, so they leave it on a cliffhanger. But
yeah,
it did seem that end. You're right, David. That end seemed like a perfect end.
I just read something that's interesting.
So what was it? Which was it? Did they come back?
It was not shot at the same time. It was shot after Carbon Creek.
After Carbon Creek.
Huh.
Okay, yeah, so it's even more surprise. Maybe they wrote it and then it's just the way it's scripted, but because the way I was looking at T'Pol with her neckline there, and I was just like, there's something different here than the last time we saw her last week.
Actually, there's a lot of interesting fun facts, but you're gonna have to wait for those.
We'll get to those. Okay, so keep us on track, Jody. So they got boarded.
So they end up getting boarded. Give me hold on. I'm just gonna grab my notes here. I probably should have been prepared.
And everybody's favorite odd couple, Archer and Daniels in the 31st century, just like in the
Daniels
ruins.
is such an unlikable character though. Like I don't know about you guys, but like I never liked him. Like
no, he's very like on task and
like he said, I guess that's the whole point, though. He's supposed to be kind of like that's who he is, right?
This suit he's wearing, I don't know.
Yeah, that's the most.
Reminds me of the Borg, the Borg outfit from season 2.
It's like it's just like got this weird like thing around his groin area going on, and it's strange. Not that it's all about that, but it's just I don't know.
These scenes were okay. I could have done without them. I mean, you need them to explain things, but
yeah, they don't do much. I did like the little book part, though. I thought that was cute. But the where he sees the Romulan book.
Oh yeah. And when like I like when Daniels comes in and he's like, "There's books here on paper."
Yeah.
What is this?
some of like the CGI here too, like when they're walking up these steps and you just see like brutal. See like these two little. They don't look very.
But they can't build a set for this, like for this literally throwaway scene that ends up happening for like 10 seconds.
I guess I just don't need them walking up the stairs or whatever.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you. Or if you're gonna do it, like just give me a close-up shot and just go to a courthouse somewhere and do some stairs. Like
just like do a quick cut, but you just see like these like it's very computer generated.
Oh yeah, for sure,
and very unnatural. Yeah. But yeah, once you get inside and they're like, oh, there's
even
books.
The bookcases though aren't totally natural, but still, like it does its purpose.
And the part about this episode I always really like is that like Daniels is kind of like not trying to tell Archer about the future, but he keeps telling him all these things like the Federation, and there's basically that the fact that
He literally keeps saying things that he shouldn't be saying. Yeah.
Yeah. He's like, I shouldn't tell you this, but I'm gonna tell you a bunch of things.
Oh, Federation, you don't have that yet.
Him pointing out the monument reminds me of Jody pointing out.
Yeah.
Standing.
Yeah.
He was standing right here and he was grasping
You're
towards
kind
the
of
stars.
reaching out to the sky.
Yeah, reaching out to the sky.
Right.
Yeah. Yeah.
So yeah, like like I like some of that stuff, and I guess they have like a little bit of a problem to solve, and like they have no technology, but he's, I learned how to make a phased time discriminator back in high school or something. So I'm gonna, we're gonna figure a way out of this.
What point would they need that for though? Like why would you? Number one, teenagers have a hard enough life as it is, and on top of that, you don't want one of them just going and fucking with the timeline. Like it's.
Well, see what he did in this. By bringing Archer here, he destroyed all of time, basically, or like the next 800 years, or whatever it was. Yeah. So he was like, "I'm gonna try to put things back together, or I'm gonna try to get things back on track," and they do, of course. But yeah, and then so like it's kind of interesting because like. Both things about this episode, even part one, the fact that these 3,000 people died, but they didn't really die in the original timeline, and now Archer has this knowledge of the future that he wouldn't have had. He knows there's going to be
but every Star Trek captain has a knowledge of the future at some point. Like it's always a plot in some episode, right?
Like their own future?
Well, yeah, well, Strange New Worlds, perfect example of that.
Strange New Worlds, actually, if you think about All Good Things and Picard,
All Good Things, yeah.
And also Endgame with Janeway, where her future self comes back.
Endgame, yeah.
Actually, it happens,
which is a terrible episode.
And then Cisco, of course, he's non-linear. He's looking,
Cisco knows everything.
The Cisco is going to do everything.
Space Uncle. Yeah.
So I guess maybe Kirk the least so. Kirk was never going into his own future or kind of knowing his own fate.
Well, except for the Gary 7 episode, maybe. He knew some things that he wasn't.
He knew things about Gary 7, but it wasn't not vice versa.
It wasn't about his own.
Yeah, that's true. It wasn't about his own stuff. Yeah. So, but yeah, so we have all these scenes with Archer and literally the walking teacup. That is Daniels. Like he's so boring. Empty teacup, I think, is a better way to qualify that. Yeah, so we have that, and then we go back to. I think the scenes with the Soul Band are much better than
the Shockwave was a shock. Yes, it was Sam.
It was indeed. But yeah, no. So like when they're searching the ship and they're trying to find Archer, and they also want the data discs back. And then they're kind of like questioning the whole crew. It's like, did you make any copies of these and stuff like that? So,
and Hoshi, come on, you didn't have time. How long did you have those discs for?
Yeah,
that's the first.
Well,
this is the
problem with the Enterprise NX series. For some strange reason, they can never do anything on time. It's always like blast cannons. It'll take 2 weeks to pick those in. It's like, we'll build those, no problem. And then it's like, same thing with a copy. Like, could she not just do a copy command? Like,
they're very good at some things and they're very bad at other things, and it's always not what you expect.
Well, and besides that, Hoshi also loses her shirt, which is the dumbest moment.
I could have done without that too. They were trying to throw some, I guess.
They were always trying to put some comedy in.
It's flat. It fell flat.
Is it comedy? Is that what it's meant to be?
It's supposed to be kind of a comedy, yeah.
But
I think it was just to like sort of like, here you go, nerds. Here's some girl with her top off or whatever.
Side boob,
side boobs, and like even like to Paul later on when she's got her like halter top going on, and everything else. But yeah, like it was kind of like the whole storyline with the Sulaban and everything going on Enterprise. It's not super fun for me. Like it was kind of it was
more fun than Daniels though.
I don't know.
Daniels is so god awful boring. Like it's
yeah.
Daniels would be like those. Daniels is like best described as like a stale cracker.
I would say
he's kind of useful, but
I like the Daniel stuff better than this stuff. I would say that the storyline with Archer, and of course they cross over by the end, but
Yeah, of course.
I would say I liked more of like, how is Archer going to react to this information, and like even Archer saying like, I'm not that important, and I'm not the only person in the NX program, and Daniels is like, is like, maybe, I think you kind of underestimate your importance in our history.
You don't know what you're going to do. Yeah.
Right.
Well, he
like,
says it's the events. It's not you. It's the events you set.
It's the events that you put in motion. Yeah. Which I did like that line.
right. I guess
it's nice when they're not putting it on him. It's like, well, no, really, you're not that important, but what you did ended up doing something good.
Archer knew this.
We're making history with every light year.
They're making history with every light year.
Every light year. If I've heard that at least a half a dozen times.
Yeah, exactly.
I think I've heard you say that at least half a dozen times.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
So.
Anyway, but
there's the walking steps scene that you were talking about.
Yeah.
No, I like everything on the ship. Except for Hoshi losing her shirt. That was weird.
Yeah, that was dumb.
But I like all this stuff. It's not like groundbreaking or anything, but it's
ship gets taken
adventure.
over.
It's action adventure, right? And
Silic was supposed to be like he was supposed to be like the main series villain for the run of the show.
I like
right?
that they sort of show him as incompetent though, like without.
Yes.
Yeah. What do I do?
What do I do?
Yeah. Well, and it goes back to the whole like Star Wars type of thing, right? Like there's always somebody higher, right?
Yeah.
That actually has a higher agenda, right? Like that's got something more sinister planned. So it's the same idea, obviously Future Man or whatever you want to call him is the guy that's running the show. He's the puppet.
We never get to meet.
I would have liked it. I would have liked it to be Daniels. Daniels is doing both sides.
Actually, that would have been good.
He ended up being like a Q type of character where he's just fucking around. Like
I read at one point somewhere it was supposed to be Peter Weller, but it didn't end up being him. And then they never did identify him.
Like there's that Voyager episode, remember, where it's Captain Braxton, and then there's like the Braxton from even further in the future who's like turned bad.
Yeah.
And so I think like a different Daniels who's like further
like
down the
timeline. Bad
Daniels, older Daniels maybe, versus the younger Daniels.
Or an alternate timeline Daniels maybe.
I guess they had already done that in Voyager, so maybe they weren't going to do that again. But
Voyager's
that would have been more interesting because then never paying this off, which they don't. Who Silic was working for, who was the faction.
But in a way that might be kind of in itself okay, because like no matter what they do, we're probably going to be disappointed one way or the other. So maybe leaving him a mystery just makes it, makes that good or something, or maybe they can use that for something later on.
Maybe.
So look at all the crap that Picard brought back that we didn't know what they were going to do. So,
and how good was that?
Yeah, it was all right. I like seeing Wesley.
Yeah, that was all right. I'm the Traveler.
I'm the Traveler.
Yeah,
I used to be called Wesley Crusher.
Want to join me up? Come to the Ready Room, the TV show, not the real Ready Room. Anyway, and then the other storyline is like back on Earth with like Sovac. Is it Sovac or Soval? Soval, right? Ambassador Soval and Captain or Admiral Smiley here. But what is that flag?
Admiral Jackass.
Here, this is like Starfleet.
So this is like this is pre-Federation, right? So
but it's still Starfleet.
It's still Starfleet, yeah. So I guess maybe that's a Starfleet type scenario.
It must be a Starfleet flag. It almost looks like a Federation flag, but I guess it's not. And then,
where they're located, it's essentially the same place that.
Yeah, it's the Presidio, right?
Yeah, it's the Presidio area. Yeah.
Because you know what, I was talking to Rob Cisternino one time on like a patron podcast. I don't know if you guys know who he is. He was on Survivor and whatever, but he likes Star Trek: The Next Generation and things like that. And he was like, "How come there's never any New York people from Star Trek? And how come like there's so few like other cities?" But then we kind of
street meat killed them.
Well, we saw like in that Strange New Worlds that World War III wiped out pretty much New York City. In the Star Trek timeline, along with Paris and a lot of other major cities. And so San Francisco seems to be one of the few cities that kind of were spared that. We know that, well, according to Janeway in one of the in that Time's End two-parter, with Henry Starling, where she's like, it's Los Angeles is going to sink into the ocean and after an earthquake, and there's all these other things. So San Francisco just seems to be one of the nice places left.
I
Anyway.
think it's because the whales were there.
There'd be whales. Well, not till the 20th.
Maybe it's like a galactic.
century.
Maybe it's like a galactic. No, the whales were there before that. They were there in the 80s.
1980s.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
But
now it's a
they-
protected area for the space.
But they went
maybe.
extinct for a while, and then they got
Yeah, well, you know.
George and Gracie got brought in. Anyway,
Yeah.
And there's a lot of arguing here with Soval, and then there's this
Yes.
guy. Who's this guy?
Fuck this guy.
So I don't know. I don't
Go
know.
play some
I've never
fucking
seen him
football
before,
in
and I don't
school.
care about him.
He
I
was
care
like
about him less than I do Daniels.
he was Admiral Forrest, like a tack dog. He was like,
Yeah,
"What do you
he's
mean?"
like, "Rah, rah, rah, rah." He's like his little chihuahua.
yeah. They're
You
like,
guys
"What? We're
I don't remember what exact episode it is. It might be Cat's Paw, but do you remember the guy that was in charge of the ship that's like, I bet you credits to Navy Beans? This is who it reminds me of. Like,
Oh, okay. Yeah, I think I know what you're talking about.
yeah, we
David
can
Scully
put a
wants
dent
to-
in it.
He wants to know if we want to do a sing along.
No,
don't
we don't
know.
have that kind of time.
We don't have that kind of time. There's always time
No.
for singing, isn't there?
Maybe at the end.
Bum, 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 bum.
The only thing I didn't like about Strange New Worlds was that scene.
Yeah, I know. That's why I love to play.
I know that's why you have it. Yeah.
Oh, and Sam, we'll get back to Star Trek Radio Theater. It's just been so busy lately, so we will get back to it.
We're all outside now, and
Yeah,
it's tough to
summer.
get it done.
Yeah,
Playing
so
hockey and stuff.
It's more of an indoor. It's more of a winter event. I feel like, but yeah. But we're coming back. Don't worry.
It hasn't been the same since I've been on it.
And Sam's saying
Let's be honest.
two-parter finales are great because they will make people come back for the next season, I guess. But yeah, anyway. Yeah.
Depends
Attack
on the
Dog,
two-parter.
Mr. Commander. Yeah, I just like Admiral Forrest is so ineffectual. Ineffectual.
And ever since you pointed out that he wears that, I never really noticed the shirt and tie underneath before. Like, but God, now it's all I can see, and it's irritating.
Well, he's an executive officer. Like, it's fine. I don't know why he has to wear it all the time, but I guess maybe he just chooses to. But I think if
Yeah.
we're going to criticize him for anything, I think his haircut should be what we're criticizing him for. But
It's
anyway.
more that flared out collar. I don't care for. But
No, well, you know,
we've
what
been
can you
through
do?
this with him. But yeah, anyway, back to this
It's
story.
just a mess generally.
Back to the cantaloupe aliens.
Cantaloupe aliens, yes, or they're not getting any orders from the future, so they're all annoyed,
They're very upset. Yes.
Yeah.
They don't know what their path is.
and they don't know what they're like. Yeah, you didn't find Archer. He's probably pissed at you. He says the Silic's like Mr. Lieutenant guy here. He's like,
We were gonna have maybe them like at each other's throats after this scene, right? Like, because the one wants to just destroy the Enterprise. I
right.
thought we were gonna have a little more.
Yeah, it would have been neat. It would have been
Yeah.
neat to have that. Yeah.
Really, this whole scene just exists to set up the fact they're like, why don't we torture T'Pol for information, or why don't we try?
Yeah. This is basically just a. Yeah. Okay. Well, we're gonna have this cool torture scene later, so we have to justify it somehow.
We have to like set this up. Why? Because we don't have Archer. We can't get any orders, and therefore we're gonna. And I guess T'Pol's most likely to have information. I guess so. We're gonna try to.
Well, she's the next in command, right? So
Yeah. So they single her out, but they're relatively nice to the rest of the crew, until they beat the hell out of Reed later on. But they just kind of.
I was okay with this. I think Reed needs some beatings.
They find the dusty. They're just going through book by book, and Archer could have found all kinds of information here from.
Well, and that's the thing. Like, and Daniels is so concerned about him like learning about things, but he leaves him walking around in like essentially a vault of information on the future. Like, that's literally what this is, right? So it's like, why would you just let him just randomly walk around? Like, you should be keeping an eye on him, making sure he doesn't pick up any fucking books or anything. Like, he shouldn't even be here, right? So, kind of makes sense, but either way. But I did like the scene with the whole Romulan war thing.
Yeah,
thought
he said,
that
"What's the Romulan Starmer?" He's like, "Oh, that's a couple seasons away, so you can't."
Yeah, you're not gonna know about that until season 3, season 4. Yeah.
Right. So keep going. He's like, everything looks good up until a certain, basically until the, this
The Warp
time
5
period,
program.
the Warp 5 program. And then, this is where he starts planning out how he's going to build a time device.
So this is a library, and they can't find a single pencil or anything. No writing instrument at all.
Just right in the dust, man.
Right in the dust with your finger. That is so crude. There's no way you could follow it.
Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's equations.
Well, he's doing something.
There's
Yeah.
Only one question I have.
It seems like a logic flowchart to me, but it could be
about this whole thing. Is why did they have to look through the books at all? They already know what happened. It's Archer. They look through the books, then make no other choices based on the books, and then decide to do this.
So I think the reason for it, which we might have not gotten the scene for it, but I think the whole idea was Daniels is trying to figure out where he can go back. So he's looking at books to figure out where the timeline makes sense, because there is a scene where he's like, everything goes to shit after the Warp 5 program. So
right, but he's already decided that, he's decided now that it has to go back. He has to go back, Archer has to go back at the same time as he left.
Yes. Yeah. I get you. We're definitely missing something here.
Yeah.
But to me, I got the impression that he was trying to gain information to figure out exactly where things were going wrong. What was the cause? So is this the cause, this event, or is the cause already set in motion, 3 episodes back, right? Maybe it was when Trip decided to get pregnant. We don't know.
I'm feeling like Barkley, or he's the Barkley of time cops.
Yeah, but I'm kind of with Kevin on this. Is they already kind of know, and it was this is all he's maybe doing is.
It seems like filler at this point. Yeah,
he's just reaffirming what they already kind of know, I guess. But and kind of they're in this 31st century with no technology, but then on the other hand, he's like, we can MacGyver this. But I guess that maybe this time could have spent more on the MacGyver of things, coming up with the device and stuff.
That might be a good idea.
Yeah, because it was just
I'm still trying to figure out how long
it's spoon, and now I can talk to T'Pol.
Yeah, or the only other thing I can think is that Daniels did this just to kind of let Archer catch up to what was happening.
Maybe.
That's the only other good reason I can think of.
The whole Archer fashioning, millimeter wide copper strips with a copper spoon in a rock. That's gonna take a while.
I always can tell
a 5-minute process. That's
yeah.
I can always tell what copper it is by tasting.
And why is this guy so fucking hot? He's hot.
He's coming up with equations, man.
Yeah, that head's it's burning.
Yeah,
it's they're in the shade.
This is quite the look he gives up here. I had to get it. I was just like,
yeah, it's got some creepy, I want to touch you in places you're not supposed to be touching you in kind of look.
Because they're it's like they're rushing here, but they have really as much time as they want.
All the time they need.
They have all the time they need. Yeah, it doesn't really, it doesn't matter. Yeah,
they could have spent a year building this device.
This isn't like Back to the Future where you have to harness the lightning that hits at exactly 10:04.
No, there was no there was no.
There's no rush here at this point. The damage is already done. You might as well just get it done right and then go back, right?
They could have made something up, there's a time window that's going to close, or they could have made something up, but they don't.
Or there's an anomaly that's going to happen
in
the next 4 hours that's going to kill us.
Then
anyway,
then this timeline will be set or something. I don't know.
Yeah, or something. I don't know.
Yeah. But anyway, back to Enterprise in the nebula
back to the Connect ships.
The Connect ships, yeah. And the whole torture scene with T'Pol. Which
this
I thought
has to be the weakest torture scene out of all of Star Trek. It's so boring.
Well, it's more like a true. Yeah, they give her a truth serum, basically.
It's like a truth serum kind of thing, yeah. And the thing that's around her neck, I guess we're supposed to think that the fluid that's being pumped through it is going into her neck or something, but it's so fucking loose. There's no way. They couldn't have just tightened that up a little,
Yeah, I guess Jolene Blalock does a good enough job of selling it. In the
yeah. She's a good actress.
And I just like some of the dialogue here where he's like, Where did he go into time travel? And she's like, time travel doesn't exist. The Vulcan science director, it says it doesn't exist. And she's like, well, does Archer think it exists? Or is it,
Yeah. Does Archer agree with that opinion? And she says it's not an opinion.
Yeah, it's not an opinion. Yeah. And then he has to rephrase his.
Does Archer
his
agree
question.
with that determination? Yeah.
Yeah, with
She's
that
like, well, no.
determination. Yeah.
But
no.
even when she's under truth serum, she's like just like so.
She's still
stuck in her-
T'Pol.
She's still T'Pol.
Vulcan.
Yeah,
She's all Vulcan, baby.
So you kind of get a sense of how much of it's put on and how much is that's just how obtuse she is sometimes.
They did a good job on his hand, though. Look at his hand. His hand looks pretty cool.
Cantaloupe hand.
Yeah, cantaloupe hand. Doesn't I get the impression it doesn't have the ridges, but it's still
not as much texture. Yeah, as like
Yeah.
the space and stuff like that.
Yeah.
But yeah, like so this is a rough time for T'Pol. This is some trauma. Some T'Pol must suffer. Maybe one of the hardest.
I like
times
the
she's-
scene when they put her back in her quarters, though. Like
yeah,
she
she's messed
sells
up.
the hell out of that. Like
Oh,
she
yeah.
sells the hell out of it.
She's had some trauma here, and
yeah.
then
And she's
back to
like curled up
Daniels.
fetal position kind of thing. Yeah.
Daniel's back, and I don't know. They're finding some technology, so they
Well,
never
this
really.
is the stuff that Archer had on him.
Oh, this is what he had on him.
The communicator and
communicator
and the
scanner.
tricorder thing scanner.
Oh,
yeah.
okay. I didn't really pick up on that. Okay.
Yeah,
and
there's a
then
part
he's,
where he takes it out of his one of many pockets.
I'm not sure, but I think this might be copper. He's like,
How-
it tastes like copper.
How's Daniels going to build this thing? He doesn't even know how to use a spoon correctly.
Yeah, what an idiot!
And he
What a
puts Archer,
jackass!
he puts Archer to work. Like he's like, I need you to make like strips of copper, and like so Archer just grabs the spoon and a rock, and he's like
Yeah, he's
banging
just
it,
smacking it. It's
There's
like, you know how long
not
that would
even
take?
hard either.
Yeah, it seems like a long time to do that.
That would take a long time. Yeah,
So maybe this went on for a while, but I guess
but
didn't
they
have
had
any-
time.
They had no food, so I guess that was maybe their only.
Oh, maybe that's the rush there. Yeah, they're hungry.
no food or.
But there's lots of books there. I'm sure you could have
Oh,
just
what
ate some of the
awful
paper or
irony. A spoon with no food.
You can
Oh.
eat book bindings if you boil them.
Can I ask why this huge spoon was in a library?
Is a museum piece, maybe? I don't know.
Yeah,
This
it looked
is a
like
museum.
like
This is a library.
archaeological or something.
It's probably something you wouldn't want to taste with your tongue,
No.
But anyway,
No.
Daniels, he's a hardcore.
Daniels
like
is
that.
hardcore. Yeah, he's a hardcore traveler.
Mo-
Yeah.
Most people can identify copper by looking at it, but
Not Daniels.
like-
He's got to taste it.
What could it be mistaken for? I don't even know. But yeah,
Well, if it was a spoon, it was wrapped, right? So maybe he unwrapped
what
part
it
of it.
was
and
on
it's
the
still
outside of the spoon there's another shot. There's the copper is wrapped around the outside of the spoon. There's like copper band.
Oh, so the spoon itself isn't made of it.
No.
It's just the handle part. Yeah. Oh,
Oh,
okay. I didn't catch that.
I thought the whole spoon was copper.
No.
Yeah, see, that's what I thought.
There's a different
But that would make sense as to why he's like tasting that part.
Yeah, you can barely see it, but there's another scene where there's like these 4 bands that are wrapped around the handle that are
Okay.
copper.
Mm-hmm.
Fair enough.
Yeah, and he's putting the whole thing together, and he's like, "Yeah, man, we made
Certainly
this."
wouldn't make those long copper strips though. There's no way.
It'd take a long time to do that. Yeah.
That is impossible.
with a rock.
Well, copper is moldable. So
If you melt it, right?
Yes.
Or heat it up?
Well, it needs to be at least heated. Yeah.
Yeah.
He wouldn't be able to pound it out into those long...
You couldn't pound it out into
with
that.
a rock. He's just.
It would just
pounding it.
shatter. It would shatter eventually. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
I mean,
anyway,
it's just this look. He's like,
It's
yeah, man,
also
we did
Star
this back in
Trek.
High school.
Yeah.
and they're in the 31st century, so we have to go with some of the things. I did like this though. I like the whole scene with her returning back to her.
She's
quarters,
coming
though.
back. She's pouring
She's
the
done
water
such
on
a
her
great. She does such a great job on this one. Yeah,
Yeah, she
Yeah.
sells the hell out of this.
yeah.
It's like
Very
see
good
that-
actress.
I can't remember them seeing the tap before either.
I think she's one of the most underrated actresses in Star Trek.
She's one of the best. She's one of the best on this show. She's one of
Well,
the
I
strong-
think she is the best on the
So
show.
far, she is the best on this show.
she's given the most. Like I think Phlox is very good, John Billingsley, but he's not given enough to do ever.
Yeah.
So it's like unless he got that one episode in Dear Doctor, but that feels like a long time ago. We watched that.
But the question is it just because she's always sharing time with Archer? And let's be honest, he is not known to be the greatest actor in the world.
what happens when
No,
he's a
he-
floating head?
He generally brings everyone else down.
Yeah.
So the fact that she looks good.
So she's
even
probably
when-
amazing then.
Yeah.
Yeah. But she never really. I can't remember her doing much after the show.
She did some other stuff, like I think she was on one of the CSI shows or something for a little bit.
Yeah,
she
but
was like a reoccurring person or
you
something.
think she would have become a bigger star, maybe, but maybe she's still.
Well,
who knows? But
maybe this is the reason why she isn't.
Maybe this ruined her career. I don't know.
Maybe, who knows?
But like, you know, she
was a model first though, so that would make sense.
She's like, hey, he's like, it's me, Archer. And she's like, Archer's gone. And she's still like, you know, dazed out from the whole thing.
She's
He's
definitely still under.
He's like, are you okay? She's like, no. Like, well, she doesn't really say that, but you can tell, you know, he's just like, he's like,
I can't find Archer.
Christmas past.
Yeah.
I'm the ghost of Christmas. He's like a ghost. Yeah.
I love what she asked.
He looks like the Incredible Hulk there.
I've got faith. Yeah, he's going for sing along still.
Yeah,
I love when she asked, "Why are you on the ceiling?"
Even when he's not on the show, he's disruptive. Like,
yeah, that's how he is. He's my cousin and yours. Yeah, she's just like trying to pull herself together on the bed here, and this is when she got the call. But I guess it had to be after the interrogation, otherwise she would have spilled the beans.
We also learned that Vulcans have belly buttons.
Yeah, well, they're
that's
born just like us, right? Like,
as far as we know, yeah.
So, yeah, and just like some of the you see him like flickering in her eyeballs in some of these parts here, and I guess he's like, listen, I'm coming to you from the future. She's like, the Vulcan science director says time travel is not possible. He's like, shut up.
For fuck's sake, Paul,
I'm literally calling from the future.
You know how much this long distance call costs?
Yeah, I had to bang off metal off of a spoon for Daniels.
Would have been awesome if
after he tasted it.
If his head had just turned and went, I think she's drunk.
Yeah, I guess maybe the past changed and DePaul got drunk. Oh, did we call the right day? You know?
Yeah.
And he was like, why can't we just call a week before? And Daniels is just like, I can't screw things up more.
Yeah, I've already made the biggest mistake in history.
Yeah.
I'm not going to make it worse.
Right. So this is very convenient. The call comes together. And then there's the whole thing where like all the senior officers are talking through, like they hacked like the
intercom port to go through the EPS modules or whatever.
I like that. I thought that was neat.
Yeah. And Hoshi gets recruited because she's the smallest. They need someone small to crawl through basically the Jeffries tubes.
They need a child to crawl through.
They're like a child. Or it was
T'Pol. Child, so you're the closest thing we have, Hoshi.
It was T'Pol and this other character that we had never seen. So it was like, it's you or her. But did we already establish that Hoshi had claustrophobia?
Yes.
I can't. Okay.
Yeah, I think so.
Yeah, that was in a previous episode.
So
she doesn't like small spaces.
She's like, if you just want me to translate something, I would just prefer to do that or whatever. But
But we also know that Hoshi's an insecure person to begin with, right? So this isn't out of the realm, right? Like this makes sense that she's really reluctant to do it.
Yeah,
because she's also has self-esteem issues and whatnot. So
yeah, she's a little sluggo that could. And she's I guess it's kind of like it doesn't look that small. I feel like
I think anybody could have got through this. Like
I feel like Reed could have got through here.
Reed easily could have got through here.
Maybe not Mayweather, but
Mayweather's tall though. But Mayweather's also totally useless, and he's probably telling ghost stories right now to the Suliban. So
Mayweather would have forgotten what he was doing halfway.
He was probably boring them to death with some cargo ship story.
She shows up. What did she get? Something from Phlox at one point. He gives her like a something to give.
I think it's the
hypospray.
Hypospray. Yeah. So it's almost like Die Hard a little bit.
Yeah.
Hoshi
Hard.
A very condensed, shortened version of Die Hard. And then she literally screams like so weird when her like shirt gets ripped off here.
That is the worst.
How does her shirt not slide off of this though? Like it's literally a handle.
Yeah.
You see, like it comes right off, and then you kind of just see it hanging there. And then
the scream made it even worse.
I was like, this is not a covert mission. Like all the Suliban guards suck. But they didn't track.
Well, they only have a certain amount of people, so
and they come in and the look.
And then here's Pervo Malcolm. He's like, tatas are okay.
She's like, don't even try, or don't give me a shirt or whatever. Again, I feel like this is gratuitous. Throw in a girl with her
It's
shirt
dumb.
off.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it added nothing.
Yeah. I liked this part though, where
Now,
T'Pol
20
is
year ago, me was probably okay with it, though. I'm just letting you know now.
where T'Pol is like feigning, like still being like disoriented.
I like how they set this up, though, because we actually think she might be insane. Like at this point, right? Like we're like, what the fuck is going on here? Like she's nuts, right? It's like, so maybe she's still like going through the effect, but no, it's just a ruse to.
And she sells the hell out of this too.
Gavin says that Jolene Blaylock had kids and retired. That's what happened to her. So
As long as she's happy in life, that's the key.
yeah, she made her money here, and then she was like, "See you later, see you never."
It's too bad because I think
I'll
she
do
would do some.
conventions.
I'm willing to bet she would do some really awesome stuff.
Should bring her back. It's not too late. And like here, where she gets in with the Suliban, and I just wanted to show where they hold it up to her head, and then she gives shit to like Tucker and Reed.
Yeah,
later.
she gives
She's
shit to Tucker. She's like, he had that gun to my head.
Yeah, right up to my head. He was like, I had to,
I had to make sure,
whatever. Yeah. And I like sort of like this misdirect here where they even say to Reed before he goes to get like the device from Daniel's quarters, that it might get rough. I think Tripp says it to him. He's like, he might get pretty rough with those Suliban. He's like, that's all right. They can beat my face in. It's fine. And I guess.
Oh, for all we know, Malcolm pays for this normally.
The Suliban couldn't have got this type. Like the Suliban couldn't have got this lock off by themselves, or they couldn't have just.
Did you see the buttons on this thing? They're all random 3-digit numbers. Yeah, I don't know who designed this, but it was stupid.
I just didn't understand. Like, I guess they needed. They
we
could have
live in we live in a world already with biometrics. You're telling me they wouldn't just use a biometric for this?
Yeah, these Suliban aren't very good. Like they're pretty incompetent. These guys.
Well, the Suliban aren't the brightest bunch in the world,
and they're like, "Didn't you think we would be?"
That's why the dark guy in the beam is the one that's running the show.
Yeah, right. Yeah, they're just a bunch of idiots. Basically, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, they're basically slightly more intelligent thugs. Like that's literally what they are.
Yeah, like with Silic being like the best of the bunch, but
and it kind of works out because once we get the Zindi, right? Like the Zindi are much more much more diabolical and much more. Plus, there's also various of them, so it's which makes it interesting. Yeah.
So they get it Reed here.
That's quite a stinker he got in like 3 minutes, eh? Like wow.
Well, they must have been beating on him for a while for it to
I'm guessing, We didn't really know the time part.
And they're like, "What is this device?" And he has this whole
like,
story.
I don't know.
Archer told me to get in and destroy it, and whatever. But it's all a ruse. Basically,
he thought you might try to contact somebody. Wink, wink.
Wink, wink. Yeah. Why don't you take this back to your lab? Wink, wink. And there's more beating down on Malcolm, and he's like,
"Poor Malcolm."
Reed. But this is part of like the
funny thing is he can get his ass kicked, and I still don't feel that bad for him.
I didn't feel bad for him.
No,
I felt more bad for T'Pol earlier on.
Oh, me too. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and they're just like, it's
they're like, "What's this?" And he's like, "I don't know.
Time travel device.
Get it? It could be.
Time device, time computer, whatever. I don't know.
Might be a hot plate. I don't know."
Takes it back, but there's kind of a cool plan that it's Daniel's plan. He's like, "We're gonna get Silic to bring you back using that device that I left behind." Right. So it's really Daniel's kind of saves the day here, even though he kind of ruined the day at the same time. And then they have this core breach is coming up, which is also part of the plan. And they call up Silic at one point. They're like, "There's a core breach." He's like, "Fix it." You mean
he's like,
"I'm fucking busy talking to my boyfriend."
Yeah. What, you don't have any fucking duct tape? What's your problem? Like,
you just
go deal with it.
Deal with it or whatever. I'm trying to call our time boss, our benefactor from the future. Just like the panic and look here is it's really just Archer slowly materializing over like the next 5 minutes. But
do you think these guys are the descendants of the Minions?
Oh, maybe that's what that would convince me why I don't like them. And then they're like, "Well, Enterprise is gonna blow up." He's like, "Well, just get it out of here and let it blow up outside the nebula."
Tow it away from the big huge space station that's made out of Lego.
Yeah, and they were able to, this is all they were able to fake a warp core breach very effectively. having
Too
very little,
effectively.
very incredibly effectively. Yeah, it looks, it's all for show here, and then boom, they just fly away. It's just like, oh, okay, and then I think T'Pol's like, oh well, you singed that nacelle a bit there. He's like, I've never had to fake it before.
So at this point, is Archer back on the ship?
No.
No.
Okay, so then how do they know where they're going to be?
Well, this is the whole plan that Archer downloaded to her, like after they cut away. Yeah, like he's like, I'm going to get beamed in.
But they
back
warped
with
away.
Silicon.
They warped away.
But
How did they know where they were going to be?
They didn't. He was like, the whole plan depended on Archer getting the drop on Silic once he materialized back there. This was just this whole plan was just to get Enterprise away from the Suliban. That works. And then he thinks his boyfriend from the future is going to show up here, but
He's
he
like,
doesn't.
wait, your legs are much more muscular.
Yeah, and then it's Archer.
And Archer's like, watch out, low beams.
Just kicks him in the face, and he's like, I didn't pull the quotes, but it was just like, I'm gonna blow your goddamn head off here. So like,
I said you were an
mad.
ugly son of a bitch, or
I
something.
said you were an ugly son of a bitch.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Which I have to admit is a good line.
It's as cool as Archer ever is. Was in this.
This is probably the coolest Archer.
These couple moments.
I'm sorry. This is peak Archer.
Yeah.
I am not going to be a fan of the rest of this series.
No, this is not.
This
peak
is
Archer.
peak Archer.
Yeah.
So far.
Season 3 is peak Archer.
Okay.
In this rewatch podcast, for me, it was peak Archer because he was.
But for what we've seen so far, this is definitely his peak. Yeah.
Yeah, he's starting to be a bit more like, I don't know. At least he's not walking around the room
adventurous and not being a pain in the ass all the time.
Yeah. He's being a little bit more like grizzled,
hands on.
Yeah, hands on. Yeah, I'd say so.
Heads on. Yeah.
Right. And then meanwhile, like they've caught up to Enterprise. Enterprise is getting attacked. There's a couple of cool space battle moments.
I love the NX. It looks good.
It's
the
a
NX.
good looking ship. Good looking ship.
Yeah,
and then
I like it.
Sorry, help me out here. Yeah, Archer just shows up with Silic in one of the ships.
One of the pods, yeah.
How do they get the Suliban to run away?
I guess Silic probably tells them to back off, and then he shoots Silic.
Yeah, they yada over that really quickly.
They totally do. They don't. That is all up to your imagination.
They spent too much time on the fucking walking around the library part, so they had to like sum this up quicker.
There should be books here. Anyway, let's taste some spoons. He's got Silic knocked out. He's like, I'm gonna dock, and then I'm just gonna leave Silic here. And when he wakes,
that's not arrest him or anything.
Why not just bring him in? He's responsible for 3,600 colonists being dead. Right? Like if we got in the Shockwave, this name of this two-parter Shockwave, the fact that they killed everybody on that planet, that wasn't even supposed to happen. Him and his faction are responsible.
And it's not even like you're gonna have to hold him that long. You're meeting with the Vulcans. They can take him.
They can take him in, and like everybody who does it,
or you could just return him to the government that he killed
to the
off.
Planet that all the dead people. But they're just like, nope, I'm just gonna leave him here to wake up eventually and fly home.
Well, he's got to come back later, so
it's weird to me, like the decision.
We see Silic more, I think,
and they do this more. They don't. This is not the first time Enterprise does this, where like they just whoever has wronged them, they're like, well, we don't like you. See you later. I get not killing them, but like it's just like, can you not bring them to justice?
Yeah, but let's be honest, Janeway did the exact same thing.
Janeway's in the Delta Quadrant.
But
way too much.
I think it's actually kind of analogous because they're not the law out here either.
No, there's no law out here.
But
this
still
is the Wild West, man.
Still looks in a different category for me. Like, because they've almost declared war now.
Yeah,
like for all we know, Archer like messaged like the other people, and they're like, "Oh, by the way, here's his coordinates. Go get him." Like.
Yeah, I think because
he'll wake up in 6 hours, get somebody over there. Yeah,
Brandon Braga ran Voyager for 7 years before this. I just feel he's like, well, that's what Janeway would do, but like Janeway's in a different set of circumstances, and this is not like it's not quite the same.
But the same. Yeah, but the same thing still applies. It's you're out of your element. You have no jurisdiction here. Like, what are you gonna do? You can't
arrest him.
Why? For what?
I think
who's he gonna go back to?
I think I think
Why?
you're right, Dave, in Silic's case,
What do you mean why?
but not in most of them. Like most
Why
of
does
them,
Earth care?
they have to let them go. They do this actually in original series all the time too.
Yeah.
You just let people go.
Yeah, in original
Let's see,
series, they'll leave them on the same planet.
they-
Like they're
they-
like, "Ah, we'll just leave you
First
here."
of all, killed those 3,600 people. Second, framed Enterprise for it. Third,
Yep.
attacked Enterprise and threatened to
Yep.
blow them up. Fourth, tortured T'Pol. Fifth, like being
Yeah.
mean and just smarmy in general.
But they're
and
not
holding
the
them hostage.
galaxy.
That one's
police,
not a
like-
crime, Dave.
But okay, it doesn't matter if they're the galaxy's police or not. It's like this is like a direct belligerent towards them, and this is
Yeah.
not the first time they've run into Silic. I feel like this holding at least him would be permissible. Like
Would make
I don't,
sense. Yeah.
but they don't, or get the Vulcans to do it, or get the aliens who got all killed in the last episode. It just like
these guys don't represent the planet that got blown up.
I think you're just arguing with me because you just want to argue with me. That's what it.
Well, I do enjoy that. Yes.
I just think you're like a what do you call those guys?
Contrarian.
Well, it's gonna give it an alien name. You're like a Tellarite. You just want to argue with me for the sake of it. But it's all right. Anyway, so then they show up here at the end, and then they're talking on. It's like this call with the Vulcans, and they're like, "See, we got the data discs. We didn't kill those people. It was Silic who we let go, by the way.
And
Because
by
we're
the
not
way, we
Galaxy's
fuck up a
police."
lot.
I like this. I love that Soval gives voice to everything we've been saying on this podcast since the beginning.
Yeah.
All of the shit they fucked up, all of the I love that he just rings off all of these
Yeah,
things.
he's
It's
like,
amazing.
so you blew up a monastery. You
did
fucked up
this.
our relations with the Andorians. You like literally like you are a galactic plague. Like
and their whole count. One of his big points back, Archer, is like, this is how humans learn things, is by screwing shit up. We screw shit up. We let Silic go. That's how we learn not to do that next time. So and
Oh my god.
And Tucker's just like going at him. He's like,
Oh.
listen to me, you Vulcan bastard. I'm gonna, you've been trying to scrub this, and then Admiral Force is like, Commander, please, you can't be
Only
saying
good
that.
thing Admiral Forrest ever did was tell him to shut the fuck up.
Yeah, he's like, shut up, Commander. Like, come on.
they should have
But-
promoted him for that.
He really needs to learn how to shut up when they're on the screen. He is always yelling at the screen.
Yeah,
Yeah.
Archer's walking around and he's yelling at it.
yeah.
Like-
Archer's like, come on, man, settle down. Yeah. It's all right. We're
He's
gonna
not
get
even second in command either, and he's doing this shit.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, he wishes he was.
go to fucking engineering and engineer something.
Yeah, you never heard Jody bitch about everything all the time. Well, he did sometimes, but most of the time he didn't.
Yeah, not much. Yeah, but
Never yelling at anybody on the view screen though.
no, a Riker or anybody doing that. Like,
Well,
maybe-
Riker did do that a couple times.
maybe, I don't know. Anyway, so it's basically like, and there's these Vulcans behind them, who are, I guess, from the Vulcan ship that they've run into here, who, and there's just like kind of like this whole discussion, really. It goes back and forth, and eventually, like, T'Pol's like, no, like, you guys suck, and we were dishonorable by putting that spy satellite there, and like, and he's
Good
just
speech.
like. He's just like, girl, bye. Like, see you later.
Yeah, he's like, I don't want to talk about this anymore.
But of course, Vulcans have no emotions.
Yeah. She's like, come on. Even we had to, like, it took us centuries to get over our emotional past and all our violence and these
Yeah.
things, and even like the Vulcans on the bridge
Look
there,
at that
just
smug son of a bitch standing there, though.
yeah. They're all just like, huh? Yeah. Even like this guy on the far right, he's kind of amused.
No,
By
I'm
it.
talking about the guy on the left, the unknown guy that we don't know who he is.
The commander.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Look
yeah,
at that
just-
smug son of a bitch.
Yeah. He is.
This one I hit him.
But
Anyway.
yeah, Vulcans don't have emotions, but he's gonna take his ball and fucking go home.
Yeah. He's just like, yeah, exactly. They clearly are.
I'm
not.
gonna take my warp capable ship and go home.
Actually, there
wish-
was a moment too where T'Pol really shows emotion when she hears Archer's voice. When she says, "It's good to hear your voice,"
She
too.
kind of quivers for
That
a
was
second. Yeah,
full emotion. Yeah,
Yeah.
such a
it
good
was a nice
actress.
touch.
Yeah. And then this little like the scene they have here at the end where she's in her silk pajamas. And you know what he says, like I think somebody saw me, I think like crewman so and so, and she's like, well,
Right.
she's discreet. I was like, why does it matter if somebody saw him come in to
Yeah,
talk to her?
I didn't understand those lines either. I'm like,
that didn't make a
Well,
lot
and
of
we've seen that a couple times, and what it is Archer's trying to make sure that he stays the captain, and like there's no rumors about him or anything. It happened in one of the previous episodes as well.
did it?
Yeah, he mentions the same thing. So I think the whole goal is to make him, you know, he doesn't want anybody to think that like they're an item or something.
He's like, don't worry, I know this is not a booty call to Paul. This is all just, you know.
But I do like your pajamas. Can I borrow them?
He's calling her just to say like, what you said, put it over the top. I think like, you know, like we're not going to get our mission scrub now, because that was, you know, was forgotten about that, you know.
Yeah,
from,
like literally, like that was
from part
the threat.
one, that they
Yeah.
were going to get
That
everything
was the
the
threat.
ship was going to get recalled, and he's like, no, we're going to get to keep going here, and thanks to you, and we make quite the team, don't we? And it's kind of a nice moment for them at the end here, and that's the end of the episode, really.
All right, let's do some fun facts.
All right.
All right. Gary Graham, who played Saval, also played the role of Tanis in Star Trek Voyager's Cold Fire from 1995.
Saval? Gary
Saval,
Graham?
Yeah.
He's
Gary
from that Alien Nation show.
Yes,
You
he
remember
was.
that?
Yeah.
He was like the detective guy.
Yeah, he was the detective. Yeah.
Yeah.
Actually, I like that show.
Me
It
too.
wasn't bad. Yeah. This is listed as one of the 10 essential episodes of Enterprise in the 2008 reference book Star Trek 101 by Paula M. Block. I don't know if this is the most essential one.
Maybe the
but-
two-parter of it all.
Yeah, well, I think they're kind of showing
combining
it
as one
yeah.
story. Yeah.
The first re-airing of this episode featured additional scenes which were featured in the trailer, including shots of Suliban soldiers searching Enterprise and Tucker pushing one of the Silex officers in defiance. So that was clipped out eventually. So there you go.
All right, like less time reading books, maybe. More
Yeah,
time
maybe it would have been better to put that in and take out all the book stuff. Yeah, that might have been all right. James Horan, who is the humanoid figure dubbed Future Guy by the fans, has appeared in all 4 Star Trek spin-off television series. He played 2 guest characters in Star Trek The Next Generation, Tossin in Star Trek Voyager Fair Trade, and a reoccurring Akatia in Star Trek Deep Space Nine. So the guy who played that person in
like
DS9
Silex, like lieutenant guy.
No, it's the figure that's standing in the beam, the black silhouette. That's actually played by somebody. Yeah.
Oh, you mean like the Suliban's like benefactor or whatever? But like he's not in this episode, right? In part
Yeah,
2.
well, we said not in this part, yeah, but I guess again they're from
combining
everything,
it.
right? Yeah. So this takes place in February 2152 and in the 31st century, unknown time. Several costumes and props from this episode were sold off in an online auction, including the prop communicator circuit board. I'm not sure why that is that.
Oh, because that's what he
uses.
uses to make his little device to.
True. Yes. Yeah. Trek Semi-Regulars Foundation Imaging, a company which works in special effects since the involvement of the first season of the sci-fi series Babylon 5, 1993. Oh, there you go.
5.
Was dropped on the debut of Enterprise's second season. Instead, Eden FX took over all of the effects work and became the new leading effects house for the TV series.
I just
Maybe
watched
that's
this
why
whole...
we got the terrible stare thing. Maybe it wouldn't have been as bad.
That kind of reminded me of Babylon 5, but Babylon 5 was cutting edge for the early 90s, and
93, yeah,
you know,
sure.
When it came out, and I just watched this whole retrospective essay about Babylon 5, how well it holds up, and I think
yeah, nobody cares.
What?
Anyway, so
one day
you're gonna have your Babylon 5
like
podcast, and no one's gonna join you.
Yeah, I know. I was like saying to Jane, I'm like, I don't even have one friend who likes it.
To be quite honest, I've never given it a shot.
Most
So
people haven't. They just
maybe I'll
missed it.
give it a shot and give it a shot. But I just also enjoy making fun of you for it.
That's all right.
Anyway,
it's an ongoing joke.
Now I feel like
Uh,
that's part of my identity. I can't watch it.
you
I might
can't
like
watch it now. Yeah. Well, you also said that about Enterprise. That Enterprise didn't
Right.
exist. So you know.
never say never.
So we'll do one more here. This episode marks the beginning of T'Pol's dissension from the Vulcan High Command as she openly criticized the hypocrisy that they've been displaying towards humans. So this is
Right.
the first episode of her defiance, and then obviously it turns into she ends up being an officer instead.
She's
So-
actually like leave the Vulcan.
yeah, she ends up essentially being part of Starfleet. Yeah, so
Which
well, she's not actually ever Starfleet.
But it's
technically.
yes and no. It's like this weird. She's kind of in.
She's like a hybrid. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Her uniform later on makes no
she's,
sense.
she's basically like Chakotay in Voyager. Like she's kind of like this hybrid. Like she follows the rules of.
But
Like,
just
what
what her outfit is, she never puts on the jumpsuit. Like, but she has like the division piping, and she wears.
She's
wears
got
the
like
rank,
a custom Vulcan version of,
and she wears the
Starfleet
assignment
uniform.
patch and stuff. But
Yeah.
she doesn't. It's like, but it's Jolene Blaylock, and she has to be hot, so we have to put her in like a cat suit. So
Well,
and
same
then-
reason why Deanna Troy was in a catsuit until
and seven
until what's his name called her out on it.
Jellicoe.
Jellicoe.
He'll solve some things.
Jellicoe's awesome.
Yeah, Jellicoe it was good.
Deanna Troy is way better in a uniform. Like just
Absolutely,
as a character.
100%.
More convincing.
Well, this is also when you think about it, it's also the counselor of the ship. Like she should have a certain professional demeanor to her, and she didn't for like 5 seasons.
She's like, this makes me more approachable.
no,
Yeah. And she's the counselor and a bridge officer. Come on.
yeah, yeah, and she's
Sometimes
got
she wears
cleavage
dress.
out to here. Like, you know, okay.
That's just her. That's just her style, I guess. Anyway, is that the end of the fun facts?
Sure.
All right. Well, let's go to ratings then.
right.
We need a ratings ticker. Anyway, so let's bring it in.
Yeah.
Shockwave Part 2.
Rating.
Kevin, you gave
Rating.
this a 10. Are you sticking with your 10?
I am.
Really,
Adam-
for even the second
Yeah.
part. Adam already sent his in.
9. Jody, where are you going?
If we have to break them down, I think the first episode is better. So I'm gonna do an 8.5.
Yeah, I'm more in that range as well. I think I'm probably like an 8.2 for this part 2.
But the quotes in this episode were better.
there was some
Pretty good
it,
quotes in this one.
it had its moments. So guys, we now are in
And
the
I'm also
season.
taking a 0.5 off for seeing too much Daniels.
Yeah, I feel like just like the ending, like the second part could have been stronger. I feel like part 1 was much better.
Part 1 was more organized as well. It didn't feel like it was dragging as much, where this one kind of dragged a bit, especially the library part.
I
it
never
ha-
felt like it was dragging myself. but
No?
It's the only thing that made me like groan out loud was Hoshi losing her shirt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that was dumb.
So the next episode, as we mentioned a few times, Carbon Creek.
Carbon Creek, and this is the episode where T'Pol disputes accepted accounts telling Archer and Trip a story of her great-grandmother and 3 other Vulcans crash landing in Pennsylvania in the 1950s.
I remember
actually a
liking
pretty
this
good
episode.
episode.
I remember
Yeah,
liking it.
It's a good episode.
First time around.
I think Kevin will enjoy this episode.
Yeah, this kind of episode is right up my alley.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Basically, she's disputing because I guess they start a conversation where it's like, oh, well, you know, nobody was there until the first contact. It's like, that's not true. 1950s, there was Vulcans on Earth and all that. So she's talking about that. And of course, her grandmother looks just like her.
Couple questions and comments we missed here from
okay.
Davin. Does the Vulcan Science Academy actually do science?
No, they're not interested in anything.
They're
No.
they're theoretical just enough that they can not be theoretical.
They're the Vulcan Poo Academy. They like to poo.
Yeah,
they just make proclamations.
They just shit on everything.
Like time travel is impossible.
Yeah, it's like
and-
it's impossible, so therefore it is.
and
Impossible.
comets are boring.
Sam saying, Dave, you're lucky to have talked to Rob's sister Nino. I'm a huge fan. I'm a patron, so I kind of paid for it in some ways. But yes, he's a great guy. And one of my the guy I mentioned earlier who was on Survivor. He does a bunch of podcasts and A lot of what I do with the Live Long and Podcast / Super Mater Brothers podcasting is largely modeled around what he does.
Just remember, Sam, we talk to you for free.
Yeah. You want to be a patron? We'll give you our first one. Jody, are you saying that teenagers are stupid? Something you said earlier.
Yes. I have 2 of them. Yes. Every teenager in existence has been stupid at one point or another.
Yeah, not known for being the smartest.
That doesn't make them bad people. That just makes them
incomplete people.
Incomplete people.
Yeah, they have room to grow, room for improvement.
That's a good way to say it.
So
I'm really dark right now. Oh, there we
go. Did you know that high-profile TV shows and movies, the script you will be auditioning with will probably not be the final product? Did I know that?
Yes, of course. Yeah, I knew that.
Yeah. Often, like when we sometimes we do Star Trek radio theaters and we look at like the original screenplays versus what the kind of the final version of the story ends up
much
being.
Different. Yeah,
very different. Usually for the worse. The original screenplays or the teleplay is not as good at all.
Yeah,
and then they kind of
imagine the screenplay for Cupid. I bet that was just
Cupid
awful.
Even like the one I remember when we were looking at it for like yesterday's Enterprise, which for all accounts is a really great episode of Next Generation.
It is,
but there's just like in the original script, there's a lot of boring kind of stuff, and and that's what the directors I think are do is like find a way to make a story more cohesive or not so well.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, so just some comments. Just wanted to get those in and shout out to everybody out there watching and commenting and liking.
What's going on for Thursday? Because you're not doing.
I can't do it probably.
Because you're at hockey already.
Yeah. So if you guys want to run with that one with Davin, all good. I'm going to be in Brantford, so it's probably not going to be good for me. But you guys won't be yet. So if you guys want to go ahead, I'll probably watch the episode in the morning and give a rating and everything.
Right.
But this one is Spock Amok is the next episode of Strange New Worlds coming out this Thursday. What is this, the 5th episode?
I have a funny feeling this is going to be an episode I don't like.
Like Spock hasn't been your favorite part of the show so far, so I would say
no, but he hasn't been terrible in the last couple of episodes.
He's really won me over considering what he did on Discovery season 2 and
I can't compare that. So.
And I came in fresh. I never saw Discovery season 2.
Neither of you did. And it wasn't even so much that I didn't like him even in that. It was what they wrote. They wrote so much melodrama with like Michael Burnham and even Sarek and Amanda, and it was just
melodrama and Michael Burnham. Oh, geez.
Yeah, it was just like
that's a stretch.
Yeah, and then like they mentioned Michael Burnham in the last episode, like let's move on, and like it's classified. We're not supposed to talk about it, so let's move. Control will get you, so it's all good. Anyway, so that's coming up, and then next Monday, guys, I might also have a conflict as well because my parents' 40th wedding anniversary is coming up.
That's fine then.
I'm gonna try it unless we do it a little later on that night, but
no, don't worry about it. Just
so it's
celebrate the marriage of the people who banged and made you.
Yeah, I came 9 months later, so my 40th birthday coming up 9 months from now. So get ready if you can put all those.
Welcome to the club.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. All right. So that's been Shockwave Part 2. Thank you to both of you for this conversation, and glory be to you and your houses this weekend in the hockey tournament. Vashel Gretzky 2022.
Can't wait to see you get 4th again. It's going to be great.
Could happen. So it's Eden Prairie Mallrats coming to represent. We'll see how
4th
it goes.
Place.
Representing 4th place. Yeah.
Jody, I believe we're playing Saturday morning, right? Our 2 teams.
We are. Yes.
Yeah. So here we come.
I've seen your roster. I'm not worried right now.
I've seen your roster too. I'm a little more.
You
worried.
should be worried.
I'm a little more worried.
So all good. All right.
And then Kevin's like, I think I'm going to be there.
With Kevin's roster on the zombies, they only got 8 people, so Kevin's gonna be getting some cardio this weekend for sure.
Hopefully we can fill. You can't fill in a couple of people. We don't have any standbys.
We have no standbys. No. But it's okay. They'll be fine. Sure. Right?
Of course, I didn't get you on the schedule, did I?
No, not in the round robin, but we might play in the playoffs and stuff. So
We'll see.
Yeah. All right, so I think we can go out probably here on a quote or something. I'm just trying to find something Archer-esque. Yes, just the going back to episode 1. Let's.
Then you'd better start re-examining those logs.
We came here to meet these people, to learn something about them, not to kill them.
The mission's been canceled.
That's a load of crap, and you know it.
That's the best one. Live long and